He's an 8-time Louisiana Association of Broadcasters Award winner. And he snapped a ball through his legs.
Wait, why does your name get to go first?
Shut up.
This is Scone and T.
Because they made us.
Welcome in, another edition, Scone and T. Feels very sterile.
Yeah, it does. We're not on site at Curbside today. That's a bit of a bummer, but I'm excited to be back. Whenever we get back, we are here in studio. We haven't done one of these in studio in a long time.
Yeah.
It's the morning. There's no beers in hand or burgers or delicious tots or any of that. So,
and you know what always happens, or what always could happen if we're at Curbside?
What's that?
We could bump into Slade Roy.
Yeah, get some spicy
LSU
ketchup.
long snapper Slade Roy.
Get some really hot Bluetooth mics that suck.
What happened with that? So you didn't. So we did like an NIL. Curbside did an NIL deal with Slade Roy, and so we did an absolutely over the top, absurd video where Slade Roy was snapping a ball into a balloon to knock ketchup out of it, and the Bluetooth mics didn't work so great.
And we cursed Slade Roy. So
it was definitely
it was poorly timed.
A few days before the A&M game, where yes, there were 3 field goal executions that didn't go. I don't know that they were all his fault though.
One was.
Was the
I'd say
snap
probably
off of
2.
Peyton Todd's helmet Slade Roy's fault?
No,
or was
I
that
would
Peyton
say
Todd's
no. I mean, Kelly said it. You talking about the one that just flew by him? Yeah, Kelly said it.
that hit Slade Roy in the helmet?
Nobody was going there except for Slade, which is the power of the center. It happens sometimes. And then in the other ones, I mean,
hey, do you love beef? I mean premium Angus
that?
beef. Sagrera Farm sells the whole sides
Somebody
and
just switched
quarters
to the
straight
board,
from the
and
farm.
I'm getting
Ready to
yelled
fill
at
your
about
freezer
if I
with
love
tender,
beef. I mean
flavorful
premium
ribeyes,
Sagrera
fillets,
beef.
strips, brisket, ground beef, and a lot more. I want to introduce...
Jesus, I do love beef. I did not expect. I don't even know if they got on the recording. Okay. So people won't think I'm crazy, like I'm just hearing something out of nowhere.
Well, you know what's crazy?
Because all of a sudden I just started getting asked if I loved beef and ribeye and everything. Like, sure, yeah, I love those things.
We're in studio, and I chose not to wear headphones.
Yeah,
I had them on. I was like, we're fine. And you are wearing your earbuds.
Yeah.
But how odd, because if you hadn't had your earbuds,
we would have been screwed.
The
we would have recorded this whole show.
That whole 4-minute break would have been over this. Anyway, it is LSU-Alabama week. We're glad you're with us. We appreciate Curbside. Always appreciate Avid Inspection Specialists as well. Our great sponsors that Bayou Transformers that help make the show possible. Of course, you go to avidspecialist.com, avidspecialist.com. Any type of home or building inspection, even mold inspections. You want my guy Christian Geiger over at Avid Inspection Specialists, avidspecialists.com, avidspecialists.com. Big reason why we're able to do Scone and T.
Yeah, and look, BayouTransformers.com, BayouTransformers.com. When your transformer's down, you need to get that fixed immediately, right? It's not like, we'll get to it. No, it's a literal cost to your business. At Bayou Transformers, we understand that urgency. And so we stand by constantly ready to assist, whether it's maintenance, reconditioning, a full replacement. We give it you back to full power swiftly, efficiently, and remember, a 5-year warranty on all of our rebuilt transformers. You have that peace of mind after the fact as well, after that rapid turnaround time. So we are your solution for all of your transformer needs. Visit BayouTransformers.com.
Do you think LSU's going to win? Are we just jumping right to the end of the show?
I think that what I have been saying is I kind of see 3 elements at play when I look at this game. And I know to this, my first pass at it, I don't necessarily feel great, and here's why. First, I know it is different now. Bama is burning. Some angry bald man keeps yelling at me about that every week.
It's been like 10 months.
So I know it is different, right, post-Saban. But I still find it hard to extricate the brands from the last 15 years, right? Because even pre-Saban, Alabama always has success in Death Valley. I don't know why, except for the first Brian Kelly year. Like, generally when LSU beats Alabama, for whatever reason, it's a wonky series where Like that happens on the road. I don't know why, but that's the case. So again, first, just the brands. I know it's different. I get it. Still, that has some brain space. That has some real estate in my brain. Secondly, the last time we saw these two teams on the field, LSU suffered one of the worst second half collapses we ever seen, and Alabama beat Mizzou 34-0. Now, again, Mizzou with Drew Pine.
Yeah, context matters.
Actually, Mizzou with Brady Cook, kind of trash. Mizzou with Drew Pine, absolutely trash, right? So, like, that's
Drew
not
Pine.
like...
I didn't know Drew Pine was their backup until Cook got hurt 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so that's not like that. Again, I don't want to make too much of that, but that was Alabama's most complete performance of the year, whereas you let A&M kick your ass that second half. And the third thing is I don't know that I feel that you are particularly well-suited to taking advantage of Alabama's greatest weaknesses. I feel like you're a bit better at maybe meeting their greatest strengths, but like Alabama's run defense is bad, okay? But what's the one thing that LSU cannot do is run the ball consistently.
They ran well against Arkansas.
I say consistently.
And
the difference is now you lose Garrett Dellinger, who is without a doubt your best run blocker at the most important position to running the ball, which is guard. Look, if you're going to tell me they can run the ball against Alabama, I'm going to say I hope that you are right. But you are dead last in the SEC in rush yards per game. You averaged 1.9 yards per carry against Texas A&M when you take the sacks out of it. Still 1.9. And yeah, this front seven isn't as good as A&M's front seven or some of the other ones that you faced this year. But still, that's a just major question mark that I have, especially with the absence of Dellinger. Going from Dellinger to Mabinga is kind of insane when you look at the experience drop-off there. And really, Mabinga, credit to him, not really your sixth.
Bingo.
Not really your sixth guy, really your seventh guy. Because Tyree Adams was your sixth guy and would have been in. So it's I don't love that the one element of the game that I'm most insecure about in terms of what else you could do, you just lost your best player trying to make that happen. So I don't feel great. But look, I have plenty that we're going to lay out today that show that I do feel good about. But for whatever reason, my concerns come to the fore when I first start thinking about it, likely because I just want to win this game so freaking badly.
Maybe because I've had 10 months of just yelling about how Alabama has been exposed, I'm at a much different headspace talking about this game.
Yeah.
Because the whole and maybe I've yelled about it for so long, I've just convinced myself now. But the whole allure or the lore of Bama just does not exist in my brain anymore.
Oh.
They are not. They are not the same team they were for all the things I've said for 10 months. But I'll put it to you this way, T. You've been around. You played in the biggest one of these ever, LSU-Bama.
And 20 million people watch that game.
It's insane, right? I mean, it was insane. The whole build up to it. Remember, that wasn't supposed to be a night game.
No.
That was CBS did a deal with ESPN to be able to move that game tonight because they already had their primetime game earlier. And so it was like in the future year, something ESPN got a first pick or something. That was the biggest one ever. They've all had this feel of there's always this angst, right? Any game week, whenever there's like a feel, it's a big game. There's maybe the fear that you could lose. You just feel the energy. I would tell you, T. Do you agree with me this week around Baton Rouge? It don't feel like it normally has for LSU-Alabama.
In which way?
I would say when we were at this point of the week against Ole Miss, it felt like a bigger game than this one
now,
does
we
right
are
now.
recording this on a Wednesday morning as opposed to a Thursday night. But you're saying when we were on Wednesday morning.
I would say Monday of the Ole Miss week. That became... the vibes around Baton Rouge that week were amazing.
That is true.
This week, it's like, oh, yeah, there's a big game Saturday. By the time Saturday gets here, it'll be big. And the reason is because, look, for the first time since 2006, both of these teams have 2 losses. And for the first time since 2007, Nick isn't there. It's just always different, man. You have cut off the head of the snake, dude. You have cut off the head of the snake. We watched this team lose to Vanderbilt. You watched this team lose to Tennessee. You watched this team look incompetent under Kalen DeBoer against South Carolina. Like you watch them in a 5-point game or a 6-point game with 5 minutes to go on their home field against South Alabama. Like
South Florida, but yeah.
What's that? Oh, South Florida. Sorry, yeah. South Florida. Yes.
No, I know.
Like, yes, man. Like this. I think everybody, even if subconsciously, knows it's different. By the way,
but
that's
the
not
difference
to say,
is,
that's
but
not
I mean,
to say,
college game day is coming here,
of course
and
they
what's
are.
on the line is way bigger than the Ole Miss game.
Well, this
is a playoff elimination game.
It's bigger because you won that game, right? Like it's at a different point in the season. But think about the feeling that you had then, because everybody knew. But everybody knew at that point, like, because you'd already had one loss. If you like, we all talked about going into that game, LSU Ole Miss. Like, the loser is very much behind the 8 ball for the playoff. The winner sets himself up great. So there was all that on the line. There's a ton on the line in this game. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, the feeling this week around town, it does not feel like it typically does.
I agree.
For LSU,
I'm just wondering
Alabama.
why that is. Is that fear of losing? Were you more confident against Ole Miss and therefore more excited?
No, I don't think so. I think it works to the inverse. I think whenever you do have that fear of losing, that's when people tend to have more of that anxiety and that pent up emotion, like ready to explode. Like whenever Arkansas comes here and you think you're going to win, it doesn't have the same feeling as when Alabama comes or when Ole Miss did.
But
and you feel you can lose.
I just don't understand that, because again, there is way more on the line this game.
I'm not
and
trying
it's
to
a way
litigate
bigger
that.
stage.
I'm not trying to litigate
game
that.
days here for the first time since 19. Been 5 years, a half decade, which sounds crazy, since they've come to Baton Rouge. Now they're finally coming back. The winner will move on to, will still stay alive, but also take a massive step forward and really being on the edge of a playoff appearance.
I'm with you.
Because you won't play, could LSU, I don't want to go through all the SEC championship scenarios. It doesn't matter right now. But you know what the winner stands to gain. But it's almost more about, what does the loser lose?
Yeah.
And that's massive for both schools. For Alabama, all of a sudden, Matt is right. Caleb DeBoer sucks. Not if they make the playoff, you're right, but still not like as resounding. Then you got to get into, your nuance of, all I'm saying is you can still be very good, but you're not going to be
That's what I've always said.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been my point.
But if they lose, there is no nuance.
Do they?
Because you've lost 3 games and you missed the playoffs in Kalen DeBoer year 1, in which you still had a really talented team. For LSU, if you lose, all of a sudden, you're 9-3 again. Brian Kelly, year 3. You're kind of spinning your wheels. God forbid you catch another loss in one of these final games and move to like 8-4. Then that becomes disastrous.
And the USC loss keeps looking worse.
Which again though, if you win, then you're a hero. You grab some of that shred of immortality that we talked about before the Ole Miss game. So I feel you, and I agree. No, I didn't get back in town on Monday night. I agree that there is a bit of a tepid atmosphere based on how it should feel right now. But it's odd to me because the stakes are objectively way larger against a team that you have suffered at the hands of more. And the rewards are also way larger than what was to be gained a few weeks ago.
Yes, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but we agree on that. And I'm not trying to litigate why or if it should feel different. I agree with everything you just said. Yes, like all the things that are on the line, you're right. What I'm saying is we live in this town, and it doesn't feel like it typically does for an LSU-Alabama game. And my point is it's the Saban factor. Like, he's not there anymore. Do you remember, the only other time, T, I could tell you that I remember this was 2002. And it's when Spurrier left Florida and Ron Zook was there. It was still the Gators. It was still those uniforms. It was still a lot of the same players. It just, Darth Visor wasn't over on the sideline. And LSU went to Gainesville in 2002 in Zook's first year and beat the hell out of Florida. That was a game where Matt Mock broke his ankle, running the ball in the fourth quarter where he had no business doing it. But the point is, it's just you seem.
So you're feeling good about this game then?
Well, we can get into the game, but I'm just talking about the emotion of the dynamic. But did you seen The Water Boy?
Yeah.
This is how I described it. You know, whenever the scene in The Water Boy when Bobby Boucher goes up to Mr. Coach Klein and he's like, "Why don't you just imagine Red is somebody different?" And he looks over at him. He's like got the little baby on his face.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
or like the little puppy dog. Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's like. It's all the same players. It's not Nick Saban anymore. It really is. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but it is that. T. Like,
I just don't know that I feel that confidence. I think
I'm not saying you should feel
Alabama team.
I agree, and I'm not saying LSU's winning going. I'm not saying I think Alabama's completely capable of coming and winning the game. I'm just saying the dynamic of the game has undeniably changed, and the reason is because Nick isn't there. I don't know that there's a soul. You tell me if you disagree with this, but I don't know if there is a soul who watches college football that if you went and said to them right now, hey, if Nick was coaching Alabama still, do you think they lose to Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, of course they're going to beat Vanderbilt. It's Nick Saban and Alabama. And oh, by the way, if Nick's still there, you've still got Caleb Downs and Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack and Seth McLaughlin, and like you've got all those players that left, and Trey Amos, and like you still look like Bama. You don't have the turnover you did. Nick's still there. Like it's just fundamentally different. That's the point I've made all along. Like you don't lose the greatest coach ever and turn over 40 players on your roster and not miss a beat. That's why you've seen Bama look very mortal this year. They're still very good, and they're still very capable of beating LSU. Saturday, they may win the game. They're favored by 2.5. But this is as gettable an Alabama team as has been since the 2007 season. Nick's first season. This is the most gettable team. I don't even think that's debatable. So as far as the game itself,
let's get into the game then. So why do you feel confident? Where do you feel like LSU does have the advantages here?
Well, first of all, Alabama has gone on the road in conference twice this year.
Yeah, it's not been good.
They played at Vanderbilt and they played at Tennessee.
Yeah.
That was, both of them, atrocious.
Yeah.
I think Vanderbilt controlled the ball for 42 minutes.
2 minutes to 18 minutes. It was it's kind of crazy because really the key to Vanderbilt winning that game was their third down success. They completely controlled the clock because like Alabama scored a lot in the 17 minutes that they had it, but they just did not have the ball for the majority of the time.
40-35 was the final in that game. Milroe, for all we talk about Milroe in his legs, and I do want to talk about that, in that game, Jalen Milroe carried the ball 7 times for 10 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't have the ball. And sacks, sacks.
But his long,
we got to stop this thing with
sacks and rushing
yards.
It's the stupidest thing in the world.
It's so stupid.
But we all understand it, though, because the context exists. Like, we all understand every rushing total for a quarterback does include the sack yardage.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll look at his long run of the day was 14 yards. Mm-hmm. Like, he just wasn't effective running the football. And then they went to Tennessee and committed 15 penalties on the road in Knoxville. Nico Iamaleava missed, Jesus, T, you watched that game. How many, walk-in touchdowns did he miss overthrowing receivers?
Yeah, that's the point that Aaron Murray made on snaps,
free.
that he's one of the reasons why he feels like LSU could be able to exploit this Alabama secondary as well. Potentially is that Tennessee they just couldn't make the throws.
My God.
And Garrett should be able to make
Give
the
me
throws.
Garrett with C.J. Daniels back healthy, Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson, who's playing like an all-conference player. Like, he's not going to get the all-conference love he deserves, but he's playing at an all-conference level. I'm not saying he's going to be one of the first two, first-team all, but he should have some all-conference recognition if he plays as well in November as he has throughout the course of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, and you've got Mason Taylor, and you've now figured out a way to work Trey'Dez Green into your offense, who has not missed a beat. Like, he does not look like the moment has overwhelmed him for a young guy who's
and
barely
not
played
a niche
football.
package. Something we talked about on Scone and T. Now I thought it'd be a niche package.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, they are just playing the hell out of him at wide receiver. He looks great. Turns out you're 6'8", and you've been practicing blocking like a tight end. You're really good at blocking DBs.
I mean,
and you're just bigger than everyone.
it's like a power forward boxing out for a rebound.
Yeah.
Just use your body to create space. That's all he's doing. Don't use your hands, but use your body to create space.
But okay,
And then let me talk about the running game real quick, because I know that's the big thing is like LSU objectively has been awful at running the football. They're 111th in the country in rush offense. They're bad. The flip side of this, T, is Alabama, as weird as this is to say, Alabama is statistically the worst run defense you will have faced this year.
Yeah.
South Alabama statistically has a better run defense than Alabama does. I know different level of competition, but Ole Miss, Texas A&M, UCLA, all of these teams are in the top 20 nationally in run defense.
Yeah.
So you've not been good objectively. I'm not arguing to the contrary, but you've also played some really good run defenses. So now you get to play the 68th run defense in the country. You think you might fare better? I don't love that Garrett Dellinger's not there, but do I think LSU can be competent at home with that crowd against that run defense? Yeah, I do. I do think LSU is going to be able to be competent. I'm not telling you they're going to go run it 38 times for 215, but can they run for $120 as a team and Nuss throw for 285? I absolutely think that's doable. I'll be surprised if Nuss doesn't throw for that because of how much they center around throwing the football.
Well, they're going to throw of course he's going to get his 40 attempts. I would say I got major questions without Dellinger. There were some really good stats in the Advocate today. According to Pro Football Focus, LSU averaging 6.5 yards per carry when running behind Dellinger this season. You lose that. I think that's tough. But I think this is a big moment for Joe Sloan. There's been a lot of criticism of Joe Sloan, and I don't agree with. I think people have gone way too far with a lot of it, but there is room to improve. There always is, right? He'd be the first to tell you that. Coach Kelly told you that. Like, yeah, there's always room to improve. This is a big moment for Joe Sloan because I don't really care as much about LSU running the ball as much as I do manufacturing ways to stay on schedule. So if that's, emphasizing stuff like swing passes, it doesn't matter. Finding ways, whether it's short, quick passes through the air and scheming up ways of getting, you have to be more successful on first down than you were against Texas A&M. And I think it was Wilson that wrote this article, but I was pretty shocked. It felt this way, but to see it laid out is pretty shocking. Last week against the Aggies, LSU gained no yards or lost yards on 20 of 34 first down plays. In that awful second half, on first down, they gained more than a yard only 4 times. So, and you can say, it's because they were throwing too much on first down. It's because they were. It doesn't matter. What I'm telling you is all I need Sloan and this team and this staff to do, and this team to do, is with Dellinger out, with all the question marks, like, you have to find a way to change that. Is it screens? Is it whatever it is? You have to find a way to stay on schedule because you're really damn good on third down. You're one of the best in the entire country. And the more third and manageable you get, then you hold on to the ball. Then you keep the ball at Alabama. Everything starts to click. But if you can't get it done on first down, you're going to force yourself into these obvious passing downs, and you can win the vast majority of them. But as you saw last week, you can get baited and manipulated into some massive mistakes as well. So, we've seen Blake Baker manufacture success while overcoming great adversity. This D-line, especially the interior, was supposed to suck. Secondary is supposed to suck. You lose your most experienced defensive lineman immediately when the year starts. You lose your best playmaker right after that, your best athlete in Harold Perkins. And what have you done? You've just continued to get better and better every week. You found ways to scheme through technique, games, whatever, moving guys around. You have found ways to find success despite everything. In that same way, I don't care that you've been struggling running the ball. I don't care that Garrett Dellinger's hurt. This is a massive opportunity for Joe Sloan to do that on the offensive side of the ball.
And the point about the lack of success on first down, the other big thing about A&M was you didn't get to third and manageable. So
exactly.
When you were
because of the first down.
Yeah. So when you were incomplete, People are like, oh, they throw incomplete pass and run the ball in second. Yeah, 99% of times when there's an incomplete pass on first down, you run on second down to try to get to third and manageable.
Yeah.
But when LSU ran on second down, they got nothing. So they're facing third and 10.
Consistently. It was like 5 or 6 times where I think only one time he got 3 more. I had it charted on my film review.
So, but that actually, since you brought up, losing like Guillory and then Perkins, I think Perkins is the other thing where if I were to say there's one thing I'm uneasy about, it's not I'm not uneasy about LSU's offense in this game. Like Joe Sloan against Kane Womack is dramatically different than Joe Sloan against Nick Saban's defense, right? Like that, nobody is going to argue to the contrary. You lose the greatest coach, greatest defense, all that stuff. He's not there anymore. It's Joe Sloan against Kane Womack. And dude, I'll tell you, man, I don't know if I should say this, but there was people talk. And let's just say there might be a conversation had among some high-level defensive people around college football that at the time of the LSU-Vanderbilt game, whenever the Bama came out in the second half defensively and hadn't adjusted very simply to what Alabama was doing, there were some of these, call it high-level people around college football who might be in a conversation together who were like, oh my God, in the first series, the second half, like Vanderbilt's going to win this game because Bama hasn't even adjusted to that. Like, I'm not going to give any more detail. I know that's very vague, and I apologize for that. That's probably a terrible, terrible way to go about doing it. But, I don't think Kane Womack is a great defensive coordinator. I think he's got some really good players. They've lost a lot of other good players. So, by all that to say, LSU is going to move the ball and score. I don't think this is one of those like in 2018 where we're all jacked for the game and LSU gets shut out.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's going to...
I mean, they're not going to shut out. They're top 5 offense in the country.
They're going to move the ball. They're going to score. The question is, for me, singular. Okay, last year, Jalen Milroe ran for $155 and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The last time we watched LSU, Marcel Reed torched you on 5 straight drives. Can you stop Jalen Milroe from running the football and make him throw? Because if you make him throw, as I have very boisterously stated, Jalen Milroe stinks at throwing the football. He's got a good arm, stinks at throwing the football. He is inaccurate. He missed, what did Pro Football Focus chart? 10 open receivers he missed against Tennessee. 10? Like, he is not a guy. Kalen DeBoer is trying to make Jalen Milroe Michael Penix.
Yeah.
He's trying to straight drop him, keep him in the pocket, and let him throw. That is not what Jalen Milroe does. If LSU can limit Milroe running the football, I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can. But if they do, and they make him throw the football, LSU is going to win this game.
Well, they definitely can. I mean, that's the thing, is that LSU against dual threat quarterbacks this year has actually been a mixed bag, right? Where Taylon Green, you stop a very good Arkansas rushing attack, and you really contain Taylon Green quite nicely. Now, he was having some wins around the edges, but you still shut down that offense for the most part. Marcel Reed was an abject disaster, but it's an interesting set of circumstances that leads you there, right? Because you were completely shutting down A&M's offense, which was what was your best overall defensive performance on the year up to that point. And then you set up a running quarterback who has nothing to lose and everything to gain. He's got a 10-point deficit. Like, who cares? They lose. They already lose. It's not his fault. And you give him short fields multiple times. You kind of created a perfect atmosphere. So we can kind of, okay, so yeah, that looked bad, but it's not that bad. The Lenora Sellers piece is the one that maybe pushes you towards feeling like, is LSU actually good against this? Because, okay, great against Taylon Green, awful against Marcel Reed. How did you do against Lenora Sellers? It was an earlier version of the defense. They've definitely gotten better since.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. How much do you think? That was week 3. How much do you think they're better from that?
Yeah, they are. Now, they knocked Lenora Sellers out of the game, not with anything dirty, but with getting to the quarterback. And they did pressure him. They forced him into mistakes. But he had a lot of success as well. So, that could go either way to me. You're absolutely capable of stopping Jalen Milroe. So I don't think it's like just some huge weakness where it's like, oh my God, you could have stopped Reed. How are you going to stop Milroe? But it's also not like a guarantee that you can. I think you're capable. I just don't, that's That's one of the deciding factors that is up in the air that doesn't have a very clear read, in my opinion.
I agree. And that's why I think Bama is certainly capable of winning this football game. And if they do, that's how they're going to do it, is with Jalen Milroe running the ball, not throwing.
So you think Alabama, so in the shootout, who does that favor?
LSU.
Right.
Because, so I did radio this morning on WNSP in Mobile. And the first question was Mark Heim and Lee Shervanian. The first question Mark asked me, he said, hey, if you get into the fourth quarter and it comes down not to what quarterback makes the play, it's what quarterback avoids the mistake, like who would you side with, Milroe or Nussmeier? And I understand the recency that we just saw of Nussmeier was the 3 interceptions. But what I would also say is that is the outlier for the season.
Yeah.
Like that's not been his norm.
I trust Nuss in big moments.
So what I told the guys was, said, I've seen Alabama play 2 road conference games, and they lost them both.
Yeah.
Garrett Nussmeier, the larger sample of the season, he's been great. And in the biggest moment at home in the second half in an overtime against Ole Miss, he was unconscious good. If I'm looking at the sample size of what I've seen from these 2 guys this season, of course I trust Garrett Nussmeier at home instead of Jalen Milroe on the road.
Yeah.
I do. If it comes down to that, what I don't know is if LSU defensively is ready to not have a repeat of a year ago where you just could not stop Milroe.
You have a lot of similar elements, like Alabama's worst game's Tennessee, right? You're going to have a lot of similar elements. I think Death Valley's even slightly better than Knoxville, but I mean, whatever. It's an elite, very hostile stadium. Night game, going to force them into penalties. Like, that's a massive advantage. It helps on the pass rush, everything else. Tennessee has a very good defensive line. That was huge in that game. I think you have dominant edges, right? If you can stop the traditional running game, which I do feel good about, like you stopped all the best rushing teams in the league thus far. I'm even saying that you kind of stopped A&M again before you got hit with the change of everything else. Yeah. But you were stopping them, you stopped Arkansas, you stopped Ole Miss. So I think you can do that. But if you're going to win, I feel like Swinson, Jones, maybe Javier Suggs in the middle in these pass rush situations, they're going to have to be really damn good in terms of striking that always delicate balance between how do I get to the quarterback but not leave all these lanes open. And I do think that Blake Baker is going to have a lot of interesting games planned to create, to do things where you make Jalen Milroe feel like a lane is open only to have like Whit Weeks coming off of Swinson coming inside or sometimes you kind of funnel him to where you want him to go. But I think, those guys have been massive all year. They're going to be especially massive this week. And then I think you got to have Zy Alexander contain Ryan Williams. Because if you do that, who else are they going to go to?
Jeremy Bernard's the number 2. The Washington transfer. He's a pretty good player, but it's not
Kendrick
like
Law shown flashes as well.
It's not like if you had Isaiah Bond on this team.
It's a bit like how, Zy Alexander starts D'ing up Trey Harris, really takes care of him, and then everything else kind of falls apart for Ole Miss. Like, Ryan Williams is so clearly an outlier when it comes to Bama's weapons and who Milroe trusts and who Milroe wants to rely on, that Zy Alexander on him, whenever that is one of the premier, most important matchups in this entire game.
Do you think I think Ryan Williams is absolutely just otherworldly amazing. There have been days, though, where he's been a little quiet, which is always interesting because then you look at, like, all right, what did a team do to sort of take him away, or was it Milroe not finding him? I know, like, for that Tennessee game, every time Milroe missed a pass, I text you, but there's 2 that really stand out. One was on the left sideline. Bama was kind of on the right hash, middle of the field right hash, and so it was an across-the-field throw. It was about a 10-yard out. Milroe sailed it, like, into the 4th row. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but he sailed it into the sideline when he had an open receiver breaking toward the sideline. It's like those are the types of throws that I look at with Jalen Milroe, and I go, he's just not capable of doing that consistently. Yeah. And, it was funny. I talked to 2 people yesterday. I talked to Shea Dixon and Frank Monaco. If you know Frank Monaco is a legendary high school coach in the New Orleans area. I also coached at Tulane. I was on his podcast. And both of them, odd that it just happened to be on the same day, both of them were at the Manning camp this summer, and both said, independent of each other in different parts of the day, said the same thing about Jalen there. It was like, he's skipping balls to receivers. That's just not his game. I'm not saying he can't ever improve, but it's just not what he does. Now, when you have otherworldly receivers, to your point, like Ryan Williams, you can chunk a ball up and you can have him make a pirouette, acrobatic, amazing play like he did against Georgia.
Yeah, Williams hasn't really been shut down. South Carolina would be the one, 4 catches for 32 yards. Every other game has been really good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe your best bet is making those windows smaller and making Jalen Milroe try to hit him and hope that Milroe's not on his game that day. Because like in the loss to Tennessee, he has 8 for 73. Loss against Vanderbilt, 3 for 82.
And by the way, that 8 for 70
touchdown in each of them.
Check the Tennessee, the 8 for 73. There was one that was like a 50-yarder, 45-yarder. Look at on the right. It should say what his long was in that game. I can pull up the box.
I'm looking at a game log. I'm not looking at
hang on. I have the box right here. And I remember the play. It was late in the game, and it was down the right sideline where he caught a, let's see, Ryan Williams had a, no, forgive me. That was it was the Vanderbilt game. Sorry, that was the Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. He had another amazing touchdown at the end to try to, and it was like, oh, here you go. Yeah. Okay, Alabama's going to get it now.
His long against Tennessee was 16 yards. Bernard had the 28-yarder against Tennessee.
That's what I'm saying. He hadn't really been. He's third in the SC in receiving yards. Look, he's obviously their best weapon.
Just don't give up the 75-yarder. You know what I mean? Like, if he catches a ball for 16 yards, tackle him, get him out of bounds. Don't let the 16-yard catch become the 60-yard catch. That's been the backbreaker for this LSU defense all year, is whenever they have missed tackles. The other phase of the game we have to talk about is special teams. This is Scone and T, by the way. We'll be back at Curbside next week. We're looking forward to being there. And big shout-out, of course, to Avid Inspection Specialists. Got Christian Geiger over at Avid. Awesome. Go to avidspecialist.com, avidspecialist.com. You need a home inspection, your office building. They even do mold, any type of high-level inspection. They can do it for you. Check them out, avidspecialists.com, avidspecialists.com.
Look, and we're also brought to you by Bayou Transformers. If you are having an issue with your transformer, your entire business cannot function. And so we understand the urgency. We're always ready to assist. The turnaround time is very quick, whether it's maintenance, reconditioning, or a full replacement. And remember, a 5-year warranty on all rebuilt transformers. You have that peace of mind after that job is done rapidly, quickly, and efficiently. Solution for all your transformer needs. Go to BayouTransformers.com, BayouTransformers.com.
So special teams, man, like Damian Ramos has been really good, T.
He's been awesome. He was 12 of 14 going in last week.
It's so weird, like, against Arkansas, he was the conference special teams player of the week.
Yeah.
And then you go have an outing against A&M. It's just like the A&M game. All the things we felt we knew, a game like that, a collapse like that, lets that doubt creep in about your consistency. You know they can be great.
Yeah.
But the question is, will they on the biggest stage? And that's something that's only developed through consistency when you're surprised that it doesn't happen. So I don't know what you feel about this team and special teams on Saturday.
I mean, I'll still trust. Look, you have one of the best kickoff specialists in the entire country, so that's great. I'll still trust Damian as that being the exception, not the rule, to his career at LSU. Also, I mean, again, people act like these are gimmies. College kicker kicking 249, 48 yards, whatever. You're supposed to make one of those. Okay, so you missed 2, right? You didn't have a chance on the third. That's not on him. So, like, I'm not to be out on Damian after multiple years of sample size seems like bad to me. Punting the ball, you got to get better. Look what A&M's punter did last week. Constantly flipping the field, giving you long fields. Then when you turn the ball over, they have short fields. Like, I think LSU has to improve in that regard. They haven't had to punt a ton this season, so that's maybe something that hasn't reared its head. And then coverages and returning, kickoff you don't have to cover.
Yeah.
Punt's been fine, returning's fine. Still wondering if Xavier Thomas is going to have that moment.
I know
you always get excited. It feels like some of the early kind of momentum he seemed to have just through some of the returns kind of dissipated a bit.
First one of the season, man.
Yeah.
Like the opening kickoff of the season against SC. If you don't remember it, go back and watch it. But like, the opening kickoff of the season, T, he was going to house it. A guy grabbed his shoes. I mean, the seas had parted. I mean, it was coming like where we were sitting in Vegas. I mean, he was coming like we were at like the 40, and he was coming right in our direction. I mean, it was right in front of us, and they just like, it was just as he's striding, when someone grabs the shoe and he strides into someone's hand. I mean, otherwise he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that we haven't seen really the special teams return game manifest like I thought it would.
And it's not that it's been bad, but it just felt like it was, this is going to be really good at the beginning, and it's been all right. But, I mean, you always wonder in these big home games, special teams return magic has a way of popping up. So, like, maybe Xavier Thomas writes his legend. Because make no mistake, everything we said going to the Ole Miss game applies to this game in terms of the chance and opportunity to grab a shred of immortality. Not the immortality that comes with being a championship team, right? That's the ultimate. That's where you remember, all these bit parts and bit players like a Torrey Carter, right? Like a Torrey Carter's not remembered on an every year team, but you win a championship, you're always going to remember Torrey Carter. But in these games,
all the face mask stuff,
you
too.
get
the eye black,
a modicum of that, and you get a bit of immortality because you remember stuff like we talked about that week, like the DJ Shark Punt Return, whatever you want to say. And so if you go make the play, or even Mason Taylor beating Alabama in OT 2 years ago with Jaden Daniels, that will never be forgotten. That didn't result in anything of import, of any like lasting importance, but it was a moment that will forever be burned in our brains. You have a chance to achieve that. And you have a chance to sit yourself in the driver's seat for the college football playoff. Like, go out there and just be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I prepared, with every shred that I had, and I left every single thing out there. And if you fail, you fail. But don't be on the other side of this game with any regrets. And every single player, big or small, will have an opportunity to have their moment. And you have to hope that you pull it off more often than not. You stack those tiny wins, and then by the end of the game, maybe you end up on the win side of that column.
Couple things otherwise to keep in mind. Both teams are plus in the turnover margin. So both teams have been pretty good in that respect. And the penalty number is stark. There's only 4 teams in college football that have committed more penalties than Alabama this year.
Yeah.
That's stunning to think
about. It's been an Alabama trend for the last few years. And it didn't get any better under DeBoer. I don't know, like even last year they were awful with penalties. I can't remember 2 years ago. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But that's another thing. If you are going to this game, this is another one where you absolutely matter. Do not trick yourself into thinking you are just a bystander. You are a part of the game. Now, at the end of the day, the team does have to give you stuff to cheer for, right? But you can have a demonstrable impact. You had one against Ole Miss. And we can count things like pre-snap penalties, which kill drives, and Alabama commits a ton of them, so they are susceptible to that. But it's also, look, this Alabama team, when they suck, it's because they suck at pass blocking. How do you gain a pass rush advantage? Because all of a sudden it's so loud you can't hear, you're going on silent. The tackle's having to watch the ball the same way that Braden Swinton is, and Braden Swinton gains that 10th of a second of an advantage that makes all the difference in the world in high-level football. So if you go to this game, bring the energy, get loud, get crazy, and make it hard on Alabama.
Do you want to pick a winner?
I mean, I'm the same thing as Ole Miss. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not picking Alabama. Cannot, will not, won't not. Not when the game is so close on paper and it's in Death Valley at night and I want it so badly. I cannot separate myself from the bias. I'm absolutely not. Even with whatever insecurities I may have and that the A&M game may have caused to crop up, I am absolutely not picking against LSU in this spot. The Tigers get it done Saturday night, new era of the rivalry, second win in a row in Death Valley under Brian Kelly. Kalen DeBoer loses out the playoff. Bama's burning. Matt does his whole spiel, and all is right in the world once again.
So whenever there's a close game, I've mentioned this before, I always look at 3 things. I look at coach, quarterback, and venue. Coach, Kelly or DeBoer?
Kelly.
Give me Kelly. Quarterback, Nussmeier, Milroe.
Yeah, give me Nuss.
I would take Nuss. Venue, Tiger Stadium at night. Come on, dog.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
You would have had 2 of those 3 against A&M, but you would not have had the venue. But yeah, I feel you.
It's not infallible. It's just when I'm picking a winner and I'm torn, that's what I do. I know we've done this a couple times, but in the preseason, we do the whole win-loss thing, and I told you preseason because of the spot on the schedule that I thought LSU would beat Ole Miss and they would lose to A&M. And then we got to those game weeks, and I completely flipped.
Yeah.
I ended up picking Ole Miss, and then I ended up picking LSU to beat A&M. Whereas my initial instinct about the spot on the schedule when things were objective and unemotional in the summer was right. And my feeling on this game is what I've had since the summer, and it's a feeling that I have more about Alabama. You are not going against Nick Saban's Alabama. You are going against a team coached by Kalen DeBoer. You're going against a team that has a bunch of transfers, a quarterback that is inaccurate, a team that has lost twice already on the road in conference play, and it's only 2 road conference games, a team that has looked certainly fallible at home against South Carolina and South Florida.
Yep.
They beat Georgia, and I think so many people, again, looked at that first half when they built a 28-0 lead, which was impressive, but a big part of that also is Georgia throwing up on itself and turning the ball over 3 times in the first half. And they ignore the second half where Georgia overcame a 28-point deficit and held Alabama to 16 rushing yards in the second half. This is such a fallible football team, man. They are a good football team dressed in the uniforms of the greatest football team of the last 17 years. They are not a team that I would say definitively comes into Tiger Stadium and I'm fearful of winning. I think Ole Miss is a better football team than Alabama. I think they're better at the line of scrimmage. I think Ole Miss has a better quarterback. I think Ole Miss has a better coach. And you found a way to outlast Ole Miss and beat them in Tiger Stadium. You're going to beat Alabama in Tiger Stadium as well.
Ooh.
And we'll see.
Let's go.
We'll see what the rest of the month looks like. Look, after Alabama, if you get through it, you got to go to Florida, see what's up with DJ Lagway. You got to come home against Vanderbilt, which that's tougher than any of us thought. I don't think Oklahoma's going to be any good. I don't think a freshman quarterback's coming in here and beating you, but stranger things have happened.
It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters past Saturday. It doesn't even matter. Yeah. But win Saturday, and then we'll worry about all that.
You're just not going to get me off the spot that I've been in.
True.
Literally since my feeling was so deeply rooted the day Nick retired. And have you seen anything through 8 games this year that would convince you I'm wrong about Alabama?
Mm-mm.
So why in the hell would I change my mind now?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I like LSU to win the game at home. I think it's a great night in Tiger Stadium. Please don't run on the field.
Or do. I don't give a
If LSU wins, keep your ass in the stands.
Do your thing. Run on the field.
No.
Fuck.
Don't run on the field. Well beyond that as a program. Freaking run on the field because you beat Ole Miss. You know who runs on the field? Vandy runs on the field. South Carolina. Did A&M even run on the field when they beat LSU?
Stop. We can't.
Did A&M run on the field when they beat LSU? I don't think they did. Did they?
We can't end the show with this. This can't be there. The bottom line is you got an opportunity to bury the fucking program that buried you for 15 years.
They didn't bury you for 15 years.
Roadblock to multiple championship opportunities for a decade and a half. And right now, there's weakness. They're bleeding. They're on the ropes. Go take advantage. Be the one. You have been given an opportunity to be the one that lands the blow. So go freaking do it. Okay? And you will create an entire state that is a little happier, a little brighter, walking around with a little more pep in their step next week. And I can't wait to live in that reality. Go Tigers. Beat Bama. Fuck them.
See you at Curbside next week.
See you at Curbside.
Curbside.
Shout out Bayou Transformers, avid inspection specialist.